If sound meaning characters make up 90% of the language and provide us with shortcuts and hints about the meaning and the pronunciation, then this seems like a good place to focus our study. I'm sure you agree about this. There are lists of phonetic components here on Handicraft. This is what it looks like, and I've put the link below. However, I don't recommend simply learning from a list, as it's still too abstract and there are too many items that would need to be remembered. Instead, now that you know about sound meaning components, and I'm going to be showing you the basic techniques for working with them, I want you to start to weave this understanding into your existing study. Understanding and working with sound meaning characters is a skill that you'll be improving over time. There's not really a set of rules or a list of components I can tell you to memorize that allows you to quickly complete the task. Instead, you'll constantly get better at it as you understand more and more about the characters. Sound meaning components are all about making links between characters and words, using what we already know to build up our knowledge of Chinese. I've introduced this concept as early as possible because you can now start to work on this skill and this understanding. I would have introduced it earlier, but it requires a certain level of knowledge about the basic characters and components first, so I hope you'll forgive me for holding back until now. Some good news. The homework you've been doing using Scritter to learn the basic radicals means that you now have an extremely solid base in the meaning compounds. If you've already started to learn the pronunciation of the components, then you already know a great deal of the sound compounds. Earlier on, when I set the Scritter homework, I talked about how we're actually going to be learning a lot of different things at the same time, and I didn't tell you about everything that we'd be learning at that point. We not only learned the strokes and the stroke order rule, but we also started to learn the basic components of Chinese, and also the sound and the meaning components that are going to be used to create characters. So that one exercise I set you a couple of lessons ago has given you an incredibly powerful foundation in learning the Chinese characters. So you've got a giant head start if you've been doing that. For now, I want you to continue that study, and if you've completed it, I want you to review the Memorize Radical course and also add in the Scritter 101 course. The Scritter 101 course is the beginner course that comes along with Scritter. You were probably already added to it when you started, but now is the best time to begin studying from that list. It's a little longer and it starts to feed in characters and words that you might not know yet into the mix, but you're going to be able to handle it based on what you've studied so far. Now, when studying, I just want you to pay attention to what the components each character is made of and see if you can spot sound meaning characters. This is really the only way to start building this skill of recognizing and using sound meaning characters. But you might be asking, how do I know what the components are? Until I learn all the components, I might not be able to split apart characters. So I'm going to point you in the direction of two tools to help you. The first up is Handicraft.com. I mentioned this earlier very briefly. This is what it looks like. You can type in a Chinese character and you will be given a breakdown of all of its components. If you don't know how to type in Chinese on your computer or phone, then see the bonus section for a guide about how to set up a Chinese keyboard. Second and more convenient is Pleco's built-in character decomposition model. If you don't have Pleco already on your phone, I recommend you get it ASAP. The basic functionality is free, but the upgraded version is well worth the cost. It's quite pricey for an app, but if you compare it to the cost of buying a good Chinese dictionary, a paper dictionary, which would easily be $30, $40, $50 or a lot more, then Pleco seems quite cheap. For character decomposition, which is what we need to do now in order to see the components within a character, you're going to need the stroke order module installed. This is a paid module. So once you have the stroke order module installed, go and look up a character, and once you're on its definition screen, tap the character tab, and scroll down to the component section. This will show you the components of the character as well as their meaning and the pronunciation of all the components immediately. Sometimes though, the component itself will be made of components. So for example, if you look up the character Hu, which means lake, if you go to the characters tab, you'll be shown that the components are shui, which is water, that's on the left hand side, and also hu, which means rectly or foolishly. Now you might notice that this hu is also composed of components. On the right hand side is the component for moon, and on the left hand side is gu, which means ancient or classic. Using Pleco you can click on this component and it will bring up that component as a character, allowing you to further see its decomposition. The best thing for you to do is just to go in and play around with this functionality, and you'll get what I mean quite quickly. This allows you to explore characters and go from one level to another, the levels of Chinese, very easily, very fluidly, and it's easy to get lost and exploring the characters and delving into their meanings this way. The most important thing right now is to be aware of the sound meaning characters and how to break down the characters and explore them and their components, the sound and the meaning component. Handicraft and Pleco are the tools that you need to start exploring, and I just want you to have fun breaking down characters and realizing that there is a logic here. Please don't try to rote memorize the sound or the meaning components at this point. It's not going to be helpful. So your homework, first up I want you just to go and explore Handicraft. If you haven't got your keyboard set up for Chinese characters, now's the time to check out the bonus video and where I'll show you how to do that. And second, I'd like you to go and download Pleco and install the stroke order module, if not all of the add-on modules. I'm sorry about the expense, but I can guarantee it's going to be worth it. Third, I'd like you to focus your ongoing component study on the pronunciation of the components, in addition to continuing your reviews of the meaning and the stroke order of the components. Fourth, I'd like you to start adding in Scritter 101 to start fleshing out your study.